What's up, everybody? Welcome to another YouTube Hangout. Super excited to be back with you guys. I have a special guest and new friend, Salil Sethi from smartkai.com. And his team reached out to me to ask me to do a interview, a roundup around social media and automation. And I said, sure, let's do it. How about we make it a YouTube video too, so you guys can learn a little bit about him and hear the answers as well. So Salil, welcome aboard. Why don't you tell us quickly about what SmartKai is all about, and then we'll get into the questions.
Let's do it. Thank you, Evan. Very happy to be here. Really appreciate you jumping on this video with me. And yeah, would love to discuss in the next 30 minutes what your opinion is about social media and automation. So a quick background about what we do. So SmartKai, our mission is to help small businesses and startups harness the power of social media using automation and AI. A bit about me. Before I started this company, I used to work at a management consulting company called McKinsey. And prior to that, I went to MIT for grad school.
So let's do it. What are the questions? Hit me up.
Let's do it. So would love to break this in two parts, Evan. The first part would love to talk a bit about small businesses and entrepreneurship and how you support and encourage them. And in the second half, move briefly into social media and automation. Does that work? Perfect. So the first part, how did you get started? How did a teenager, Evan Carmichael, get started with entrepreneurship? Not who you are today, but what got you attracted to this whole startup world back in the days?
So I had a lot of entrepreneurial tendencies growing up, but I never thought I would be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I think growing up, I had the typical lemonade stands and all that stuff, and I was selling baseball cards. And my parents would drive me every week to the different baseball card shows, and I'd be negotiating with, 50-year-olds over 5 and 10 cent differences on cards. So I'd learn my negotiation skills and all that through selling baseball cards. But I thought I wanted to be a banker. It just wasn't on my path. Entrepreneurship, I'm 30. What year is it? I'm 37 right now, and so entrepreneurship wasn't really the thing to do. There weren't as many young entrepreneurs, so I just wasn't aware of it as a potential path. Yeah. So I thought I wanted to be a banker. But at university, I connected with 2 entrepreneurs who had started a business, and they asked me to join them as a third owner, and that's where I had to make the decision between joining McKinsey or Merrill Lynch. And those were at the time like the dream job, like McKinsey, the top strategic consulting company, and Merrill Lynch, a top kind of investment banker, which I thought I wanted to do. And I had this opportunity to join a startup. And it was the toughest decision I ever had to make in my life. But I went with the entrepreneurial path and haven't looked back since. Yeah. Do
you think entrepreneurship is taught, or is it something innate? Is someone born with those tendencies?
It's a question I don't spend a lot of time thinking about, because I then think about, well, what does it matter? I think there's been a lot of people who we see these entrepreneurs who've had a lot of success and are like the type A bravado, like DNA, Mark Cuban and Kevin O'Leary and like the big loudmouths. But then you see a lot of people who are accidental entrepreneurs, a lot of people who fell into entrepreneurship, a lot of people who are kind of quiet and introverted. You just haven't heard about them because that's the whole point. Like, they don't go in on their strengths of being the loudmouth. So I think if it's something that you want to do, then go do it. Just in general, if there's something that you have this idea of something that you want to do. I want to start a business. I want to be a musician. I want to whatever. Just do it. A lot of times people just sit on their ideas for a long time, to the point where then they can't, they run out of time, they run out of resources. It's just not possible anymore.
Yeah.
And so we spend a lot of time. I think a lot of people will not become an entrepreneur because they say, I'm not a born entrepreneur. They have this kind of thing in their head of what that looks like, and that's not them, so they won't go out and do it. But you can have success in any field if you have a curiosity for it, and you have the passion to kind of continue on every day doing it.
Yeah. And I completely agree with you, right? There are a lot of people who are waiting for the perfect moment, only if I can finish off my school, or only if I have so much in savings, or only if I do X, Y, or Z is the right time for me to go do something or try something. And I think that's great advice, right? Try it, do it, and see how it works out. The flip side, do you think today, 2016, 2017, entrepreneurship has almost become a fad, that anyone with a laptop, especially in the Silicon Valley, or I'm in New York, you know, has an idea for a new app, and all of a sudden they're an entrepreneur and they want to go try something. So my question is there a litmus test, or is there something that you want to, validate, talk, test before you actually take the plunge, so that somewhere we can reduce the failure rates, right? This is people's time. This is what they're committing their life to.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is just increasing self-awareness.
Yeah.
I think failure is good. I think if you look at any successful entrepreneur, they failed many times before they became successful. It's just the awareness to know whether this career path is good for you or not. I think you see people like Zucks taking off, and then you want to, like, I could build the next Facebook, which maybe you can. You see LeBron James dunking. He's like, I want to be a basketball player. I want to be an NBA player. I want to be a rapper. I want to be a, whatever it is. Whatever your environment is typically what you want to go and become.
Sure.
So I didn't want to become an entrepreneur because I didn't have that in my environment. I wanted to be a banker because I thought, culturally and the people around me, that's what was the thing to do.
Yeah.
So I think it behooves everybody to just expose yourself to different ideas and different opportunities and know to figure it out. Like, if you want to give a shot at entrepreneurship, great. If you have an idea, try it. It doesn't mean you're going to, just because you think you can sing, it doesn't mean you're going to go off and be the next Britney Spears or whoever, right? If you have an idea, you owe it to yourself to try and go out and do it. And if that doesn't work and you realize, you know what, this isn't the life I want, then go off and do something else. I think especially in your early years, you should try to do lots of different things and suck at lots of different things, because you don't know what you're going to be really great at until you start testing it and trying things. So I'm okay with the massive failures, the failure rate. I'm okay with people trying entrepreneurship and seeing if it's for them or not. I think the more people try entrepreneurship, the more great things are going to come from it. The more, like, the winners of entrepreneurship are going to go off and create amazing businesses that will benefit all of us.
Sure.
But just because you say, I'm not attached to labels. Just because you say you're an entrepreneur, it doesn't mean you're having a big impact. Doesn't mean you're having a lot of success. You could say anything. You could say you're a singer, even though you don't have any, sales of your albums yet. So I don't know. I'm a fan of people trying it out, just as much as I'm a fan of people trying out other things to see if they have the awareness to know if it's for them or not.
Yeah. What's been your biggest learning in your journey? So in the last 15 years, between graduating college or while you were in college starting to build something to now?
The two really formative decisions that I had to make both came within a year of each other.
Okay.
The first was not to live with regret. Okay. And that came on a trip that I was in Paris. I was, 18 years old or something like that. I guess I'm going back more than 15 years, but this girl comes up and asks me directions, and I wanted to ask her out, and I was too afraid to, and I let her walk away and tried to take a picture, of her afterwards, but just got this kind of riverside view. And it was just like the idea that it got away, the idea of not knowing, the idea of fearing failure, and that fear now is overcome by the fear of regret of not knowing. And so I took that picture and I posted it on my wall, and it's the next time something comes along that I'm afraid to do, but I might regret not doing it, I have to go out and do it. And that's what led me to join the startup instead of taking the nice job at McKinsey or Merrill Lynch. Is like, okay, I said I was going to do this. I'm looking at this picture every day, so I'm not going to live with regret. I'm going to go out and do it. And still to this day, if there's a decision, that's what helps me get through the fear of whatever immediate thing is in front of me. If I'm afraid to do it, talking to Salil, maybe I'm afraid to do this interview here, but it's like, I don't want to regret not knowing. So just not living with that regret for the rest of my life. So that was really formative. The other one was modeling success. And my company at the start was failing. I was making $300 a month, was not doing well. And I quit. I told my partner I quit. I didn't want to do it. I felt worthless as a human being. I was spending all this time and not getting any results. I was embarrassed and ashamed and didn't tell anybody about it. And then I realized I'm not the first guy to try to build a software company before.
Yeah.
maybe in my niche of biotech software, like, nobody has done anything big, but in general, people have built giant software companies. I don't have to come up with every single idea myself. How about I learn from them? Just like you're doing with this roundup, right? How can we learn from people who are doing automation to bring it to share with your audience? And so I started modeling Bill Gates and how he built Microsoft, and I applied those strategies to my business, and finally we started seeing some success. And then still to this day, whenever I don't know how to do something, the first question is, okay, who's already done this? To model them. Not do it exactly like them, because then it'll just be a junior version, but at least get an idea of how success happens in that field so I could learn from them.
Yeah. Your first story, like two big things are, one, you were thoughtful even when you were 18, right? You blew up the picture, you thought about it, and you actually made a change in how you approach decisions going forward. The second thing is, Evan Carmichael was cool 20 years ago also. He had a camera phone back in the days, a flip phone with a camera so you could take a picture. So I don't know many people who had a camera phone back in the days.
I don't think I actually took a picture with a camera. I think I took it with a regular camera. For sure I did, because I was trying to get the girl, but I didn't want it to be in a stalker way. So I waited for her to go across the river. In Paris, there's this river that runs through it. And so I took a picture thinking I had her. But then when it was still filmed. Like when I had the film developed, I realized that she went behind one of the marketplaces. Like there's these artists on the river selling sketches and stuff. And so I didn't actually get her. So I had this picture of this beautiful French river. But I was so excited to develop that roll of film. And then I realized she's not actually in it. But it didn't really matter because I still had that picture and put it up on the wall.
Yeah. Reminded you of the moment.
Yeah, exactly. And a consistent reminder so that the next time it comes up, you don't do the thing again. You don't repeat the same pattern for the rest of your life. Like, I need to change this. I remember how painful that was. Now I'm going to actually have the courage to go through and do it.
Excellent. Switching gears a little bit, talking about social media a bit more. So back in the day, like in 2000, search engine was a big thing. A lot of people were getting traffic, and I'm specifically talking about online businesses right now. So a lot of people were getting traffic through search engine. Then came along social media, and now people get traffic. A lot of people engage on social media. When you think about social media, do you think about it as an engagement platform within that network? So having your audience engage with you on YouTube, having your audience engage with you on Facebook, Twitter, or do you actually see it as a source of traffic onto your website, business? How do you think about it?
So I am in the business of trying to generate as much attention as possible in a specific niche, and then I monetize that attention in a lot of different ways. That's kind of my business model. And so I started off in website, and the website was my business. I was not on YouTube from day one. The website was where I was driving, millions of people through the website, selling product, having advertising, playing that model, and building up my name to be a speaker and a bunch of other ventures. As I tested out YouTube, I realized I can get an even greater reach on YouTube than I could on my website. All the built-in sharing tools, and people are just on YouTube instead of having to discover me through search. It was just more impactful. And so I'm not attached to any one specific. I don't care about the website. I don't care about YouTube. As much as I'm on YouTube and I love it, if something else came along and, paying attention to Snapchat and Instagram and whatever the next thing is that comes along, it's really just about, my goal is to reach 1 billion entrepreneurs and help them believe in themselves more to create something amazing. The execution of the how, it doesn't matter to me. So right now, YouTube is a great platform to help accomplish my mission, as well as it fits my style. I like video better. You ask to do an interview, I say, how about we do a video? I don't want to write out answers to a question, right? It just fits my style better. Now, videos apply now to a lot of different networks. Twitter has video and Instagram has video. And at the start, it wasn't about video. So now it starts to play to my strength a little bit more as well. So I don't see it just as an engagement platform. I see it as a way to further my mission. My mission is to help 1 billion entrepreneurs. What's the best way to be able to do that within my lifetime? Right now, I see it as YouTube as the best platform.
Sure.
That will shift. I don't expect it to be like that in 5 years or 10 years. And I'll switch as the platform switch.
Yeah. Having spoken to a lot of entrepreneurs or small businesses, one thing I constantly hear is social media is great. We all know the organic reach is basically dropping. Facebook, if you publish something, you have to boost it. You have to put dollars behind it to get people to look at it. How do they compete with larger brands for the same attention? Because let's say you are a small business, you're selling a book, comes along Barnes and Noble, they put dollars behind the same book. How do you compete for the same eyeball? Any thoughts?
So a couple things. One, the advantage of an entrepreneur is one, authenticity. So you can win with your story, with a powerful message that you don't really buy Coca-Cola's message. You don't buy Ford's message. You know, it's like it's this big company. You don't really feel a connection to them. And that's where you can stand out and win as an entrepreneur, put out something meaningful that really connects with you. And I think too many entrepreneurs are trying to act like big companies because that's who they look up to and model, and they think they're the winners. But doing that means you're gonna lose. So go all in on your story, why this is important to you, right? And share that message. Two, the benefits of entrepreneurs is first mover advantage. So I think the audio is kind of coming in twice. But we'll push through it. The first mover advantage in that at some point the big company's going to come in and spend money on everything, and then it won't work out anymore. And it's been the history of everything. Like direct mail, that happened. You know, to be first on TV wouldn't cost you as much, and then cost more, and radio and newspaper ads and everything. Like that's the history of advertising. It's going to continue to happen like that. There's still an opportunity on Facebook with targeted posts. Nobody gives you targeting better than Facebook. Yeah. If you want to reach a specific audience. So that's in a couple of years may not be as affordable. AdWords is already going down. Like AdWords was great for entrepreneurs now. It's really know your game, you have some success, but it's a lot harder. The arbitrage isn't as big.
Right.
So Facebook is heading that way. If you don't put money behind the post, no point in being on Facebook. It's really hard. YouTube though is not like that. Yeah. The way to win on YouTube is quality, consistent content. You don't need to have the collaborations. You don't need to spend money on the advertising. You don't need to have shout-outs. You don't need to platform promote. You just need to create daily consistent content. So it's easy for entrepreneurs to win. So I think if you're an entrepreneur, first off, looking at your social media campaigns, it's understanding where should I be spending my time? Where is my audience? And how can I best match up with that audience? There you go. The sound's a lot better. You can still hear me though, right? Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's good. While you're talking, you can mute. Perfect. Where is my audience? Because I think a lot of people, when they're doing their social campaigns, they try to be everywhere. I want to be on Twitter and Pinterest and Instagram and Facebook and YouTube and Snapchat and on. And then they do everything poorly, and they're just promoting crap out consistently. Where you want to be on the platform that makes the most sense for you. And then understanding the dynamics of that platform. So Facebook is still a great opportunity, but it's getting more expensive, so you have to really know your game. If you move to a Snapchat, it's newer, or the next thing that's coming up, you know, Musically, where the big companies haven't come in and spent a lot of money yet. Instagram influencers, the big companies haven't spent a ton of money on. It's picking up. You still have opportunities. So the sooner you are in there, the cheaper it's going to be. But the work is in figuring out the best practices. Once everything makes sense and there's tons of best practices to follow, then the big companies are going to come in and say, okay, we're going to follow these big best practices and we're going to throw a whole bunch of advertising against it. So that's your advantage. That's what you have to go all in on as an entrepreneur, or as a small company kind of going out against the big ones.
Makes sense. Yeah, no, I muted my audio so that you don't hear the echo. I'll do that again once you're answering the question. No, I think that makes sense. The other piece that I've heard is large companies, let's say people have figured out Facebook, right? You know what the best practices are for Facebook. You know how to use links, how to use images, how to use videos. And at this point, when a small business tries to use Facebook and a big brand does, it's almost, someone put it very well, is going into a gun battle with a knife. Because you have very little budget, your creatives probably won't be as polished as creatives from a much larger brand. Passion absolutely helps. Do you see a role that automation might play, help small businesses and entrepreneurs, level the playing field a little bit?
So when I think about automation, I think it's important that you figure out the model that works, and then you think about how can automation help me. And so for me, it goes eliminate, automate, delegate. So as somebody who's leading the campaign, I want to test to see what's working. What's not working should not be automated. It should be eliminated. Like, don't even spend time on something that's not working. The ones that are working, then you think, how can I automate this? If it's a very manual process, like even automation can be using software tools, like using Photoshop is automation over drawing everything out by hand, right? Using some of the built-in tools to help you schedule out posts, instead of having when I post YouTube videos, we post 3 videos a day. They're set at certain times. They go out at those times. I don't have to go to YouTube. It's 8 o'clock. I got to go to YouTube and press that button to post it, right? Like that saves me time. And then delegation is the last step. Ideally, if you can figure out a way to give it to a computer to do, it's way better. They don't take vacations. It's manual. It's tedious work typically. So it's great to give it to a computer and set it to a person. Delegation is the last step after that. But I think what a lot of people do is they do automation wrong. They automate the wrong things. They automate inefficient things or things that aren't working. So it's eliminate first, then you automate. When you know something's working, then you automate, and then you can delegate to team members as well. So we use a lot of different automation across our different social channels, and as well as delegation and elimination. And I think it's important that you first figure out what's working for you, and put in the work to do it, and then look at the tools that can help you.
Yeah. Is there any channel in particular you think lends itself well to automation versus any channel that doesn't? For example, Instagram. A lot of it has to happen on the phone. You need to have the image on your phone. There are tools that'll give you notification, but they can't go out and post for you. At least the legit tools. Whereas Twitter seems very noisy, seems a lot of automated stuff. What's your opinion?
For me, I think the stuff that is harder to automate is the best thing to try to automate. So I think there are some things like scheduling YouTube videos as an example is great. So it saves me time. So all this stuff saves me time. But the more easy and accessible it is, then the more everybody's going to do it, and then the less value that it brings, because automations should put you ahead of the playing field. Where if everybody catches up, then you need to be automated just to level the playing field. Where I want to look for my next advantage. So Instagram, there are some tools where you can post to Instagram, through a WordPress plugin or through other options using hacks or whatever. There are various ways to be able to post to Instagram beyond, and that gives people who do that an advantage over the people who aren't. Right? Discovering the new tools. And so if you're providing tools for automation, as an example, you want to give people something that they previously couldn't do through automation. There's tools, for example, on my YouTube channel, there's a tool that helps me update all of the descriptions of my videos, or updates all the cards on my videos, or updates all the titles on my videos, or the tags. Like 5,000 videos. For me to go one by one and do these things is going to be crazy. But if I want to jump on a trend, so like YouTube introduces a new end card thing, where you can have cards at the end of your videos to promote other things. Great. I want to roll that out across all my videos. That's the new thing now. They got rid of annotations, and now they're doing this. To do that 5,000 times is insanity. It's crazy. So what most YouTubers do is just do it on the new ones as new ones come out, and your whole archive is what it is. YouTube doesn't give you a tool to automatically do that. I found the tool that allows you to do that. And so I now have an advantage over other YouTubers who don't have that tool. And so the automation, you need to have a certain level of automation just to be at the level playing field. But the smart people, and it's not just in social media, it's anything, like the smart companies who learn how to automate something that previously was not automated are the ones who gain the efficiencies and can start win market share. Did I lose you?
I'm still here. It became a bit choppy for a second. Yeah. No, I think that makes sense. I think automation can definitely give a leg up. It absolutely allows businesses to, save time, do more with less resources. And yeah, small businesses, startups obviously are resource constrained. So I think, yeah, it absolutely makes sense. Um, every small business, or every business rather, I think that's almost a general statement, wants to make money, wants to drive traffic. Social media happens to be a new place where people are driving traffic. Very specifically, if you start thinking about smaller companies, they're more concerned about sales than branding. By the time you create a brand and you go to market to use that brand, it's almost too late. You're out of cash. Specific advice for small businesses and entrepreneurs on how to use social media, YouTube, other platforms for lead generation, very specifically lead generation.
I think the best thing for people to do at the start is not even worry about their own accounts and posting content. I think to have success in any of the social platforms, you have to be, like anything else, consistent. If you're not consistent on something, it's not going to work. If you're posting one YouTube video a month, it's not really going to allow you to build a YouTube platform where you're going to generate tons of leads through. And I think it's important that you prove to yourself that the platform will work. And so my favorite way of getting started is first get your name. So, you know, Evan Carmichael. So I have it on Twitter. I have it on Instagram. I have, you know, you want to make sure new platform comes out, you're getting your name so nobody's stealing your name when there's inconsistencies on branding. It doesn't mean you need to post yet. The next thing I would do is just listen. Is anybody mentioning you? I thought Twitter was really stupid when it first came out. People were talking about their cats and what they ate for lunch. It's like, well, why do I care about this? But people were mentioning my name and I wasn't a part of the conversation. They were talking about an article they read on my website or a speech that I had given, and like, oh, people are talking about me, but I'm not a part of the conversation. So your first action should be just to listen. So you get the names, then you listen, and you're looking for champions. If somebody mentions you on one of these platforms, you want to at least respond and say thank you, because they have an audience. So at the beginning, I'm much more concerned about my audience, my customers' audience, and people out there and their audiences, much more than me building my own brand on any of these platforms. Then I'd be looking at who are the influencers in those industries. So if I really want to focus, okay, Twitter's working for me. You know, I'm getting some mentions on Twitter, getting some awareness out. I'm thanking all my champions. Who are the big Twitter influencers who are reaching my audience? And how do I form some kind of relationship with them? How do I get them? How do I introduce them to my software or to my hoodies or my book or whatever, reaching out to them who I think is a fit because we serve the same target audience, and finding some way to work together. I'm much more concerned about tapping into other people's audience instead of building my own audience from scratch. Because you're right, you'll go out of business before you build a major audience. And so listening and then connecting with influencers first, and then seeing, okay, I'm getting a lot of traction on YouTube. I'm getting people talking about me. I'm getting influencers to talk about me and spread my message and generate sales. Now maybe I should be doing some more branded stuff. Now I'm thinking more 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the line and not just immediate sales. I think that's if you're worried about conversions and getting immediate sales, your fastest path through is going to be using influencers into those markets or advertising.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. I think from what I've seen, I think, again, my key takeaway from this is be consistent with content creation, right? You need to put out good stuff consistently. But I think the place where a lot of people don't follow through is the outreach. They'll generate good content, but they'll barely get any, engagement, any likes, any comments, any suggestions, anything to engage with their content. And very soon they are like, you know what, platform is not working out for me. My content is not working out. And I think they lose motivation. I think the ingredient of the recipe in my mind is you have to do that. But in addition to that, you need to have an outreach campaign, or as you said, work with influencers. You have to do both hand in hand. Otherwise, just one won't work out.
Yeah, and I think understanding this is a lot of different ways to grow a business. I think if you have a powerful message and you have a lot of great content, then this is one of the easier ways to do it. But it's not the only way to build a business. If you provide great service and you just over deliver on expectations on service all the time for your customers, you'll get business. People will talk about you. Like if you could build a $500,000 consulting business as a solo person with never being on social media. But you have to be really good at the consulting, and you got to go way above and beyond on the service. But if you're going to be using social media, it's never been easier to get your message to be spread. We've never been more connected. There's never been more opportunities. There's no gatekeepers. You don't have to take out a Super Bowl commercial to be able to win in the advertising game there. If you have a powerful message and you're consistent, it's never been easier. The thing is making a commitment to doing it. So automation tools will help get you a leg up on your competition, help you stay ahead. But you have to decide to enter the race. Like, you have to decide that's the race you want to run. The automation won't do everything for you. You still have to post. You have to come up with content. It's got to be good. You have to have a message. To think like, I'm going to pay $30 a month and this thing's going to do everything for me and I don't have to care about it. It's not going to win. Just like anything else in your business, you can't just spend $30 a month and it's just taken care of, or 50 or 100 or whatever. So automation will help give you an advantage. It'll help you run faster, but you still have to decide to enter that race.
Yeah, makes sense. Finally, want to be respectful of your time. What's the future of social media? I know it's a hard one, right? If you had to predict it and you want to look back 5 years in 2022 and say, guys, back in 2017, I predicted it right. What are your one or maybe more than one predictions about social media?
It's always a tough one. I think for me, we're seeing that video is just going to be more and more and more and more important. I think if, just like every other network, if YouTube doesn't stay ahead of the game there, they're going to get swallowed up and other companies are going to come in and take them out. It's going to be interesting to see the innovations that come. Like, what's between video is hot now, VR is coming, but it's still far away. What's in between? What's in between video and VR, and who's going to be the ones to do it? You know, Snapchat came out, awesome new idea. Instagram copies them. Snapchat starts to decline, right? Like, who's going to innovate? And it's not, but it's also less like it's not always first mover. First mover often doesn't work. First mover could also mean you're the pioneers and you have the arrows shot in your back. You know, it's at the end of the day who executes the idea the best. And so I would be looking at more networks popping up. It used to be said, like, the networks are there, you got to just win on those networks, but we'll see more networks popping up, growing at faster rates than any other network before it, constantly setting new records. Video will be an important part of it. Automation will be an important part of it. Data and analytics and understanding will be a super important part of it. Most of the tools, most of the platforms give you really poor analytics and how to make important decisions. I live in a YouTube world and they have a lot of data, but it's still, you know, it's still garbage compared to what it could be. And there's even less on a Snapchat or an Instagram or Twitter. You have to use third-party tools. And so I think the people who win on video will keep winning. The people who are data nerds, all the people who figured out how to win on SEO, applying those same strategies to now, okay, SEO is not the game anymore. We have to win on Instagram. What's the algorithm? How do we decode that and apply it to give an advantage? I think data is just going to continue to be more and more and more and more important. That's your skill set. You've got some lucrative opportunities ahead for you. And then I don't know what the evolution is going to be between, like, when we get off the phone and go all into the headsets or all into our eyes, wearables, you know, injectables, all that kind of stuff is coming. And I think it presents an opportunity for people to kind of figure it out and create the business model. And even just studying it, because a lot of people are hesitant to jump on something new and it doesn't work out. The skill sets you learn on the new thing, you can apply to the next thing. If you look at the Viners as an example, the Jake Pauls of the world and all those guys from Vine, who is the celebrities there, who built up a huge platform on Vine, and then Vine, poof, disappears. A lot of people are afraid to jump on something because they think it's going to fall apart and disappear. But they move to YouTube and they have massive success really quickly, fastest growing YouTube channels on the planet, because they've built the skill set from other platforms. So whatever, like, if you're starting on YouTube today, you may think, well, YouTube's going to be not going to be the thing in 3 years, so I'm going to abandon it. Or you start on Musical.ly and the thing disappears. The skill sets you build along the way to understand consumer behavior, to understand what works, to improve your skill sets, will be able to be applied to the next thing that comes out. Everything that I do on YouTube is going to help me in VR. So I got to go all in and improve myself on YouTube.
Yeah, No, absolutely makes sense. And I think the point that you mentioned, right? The first mover doesn't always win. I think I was at a conference where Reid Hoffman spoke, and the thing that I took away was it's not the first mover, it's the first to scale. Not the first to start, but the first to scale. And he gave a few examples. And that kind of stuck with me, right? There was MySpace and there was a few other Friendster before Facebook came. So yeah, makes sense. Excellent. This has been great.
Cool. When does the
article come out? So we should have it in the next couple of weeks. I'll send you a copy. I'll make sure you have a copy of it. But yeah, in the next mid August is the target for that.
I love it. Well, thanks for the time, Salil. I hope you have a great rest of the week.
Thank you so much, Evan. Talk to you soon. Bye.